Good Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Volquest.com podcast with Austin Price, Jesse Simonton, and Rob Lewis. I'm Brent Hubbs. Glad to have you along with us. A little mailbag edition of the podcast. But before we jump into all the questions, let's jump into Mordecai McDaniel and just your thoughts on Tennessee, getting him, what it means to have him. I know we had it in the impact analysis, but just kind of a spitball a little bit, what he means, and then how much of a factor could that or could that not be with Rakim Jarrett?
Well, I think it's definitely a factor with Rakim Jarrett. Now, is it going to be the end-all, be-all? No, I don't believe so. But I think that it makes things easier when Rakim starts thinking about Tennessee, looking at everything Tennessee has to offer. Yeah, I think it's a real feather in their cap. And Jesse, you and I have talked about this from really the moment Antonio Johnson committed. I mean, the Vols would have sure taken Antonio Johnson. I think they'd still take Antonio Johnson. But the guy they really coveted was Mordecai McDaniel. Why? One, good ball skills. But at the end of the day, a kid that can run and can really cover up a lot of ground.
Well, not only that, I mean, he fits all their like size measurables too. I mean, he's 6'1", 195 pounds already. Is a legit 55, 100-meter track champion. Tennessee's track program deserves an assist for getting this one done. Both Pruitt and the track coach, recruited Mordecai McDaniel together, but they're getting a thumper. He kind of flies around on film. That I think he still needs to kind of improve. I think some instinctual stuff, but that's just more. He just needs more coaching, and who's he going to get it better from than Pruitt and Derek Ansley? So another nice addition. Yes, he's only a 3-star, but I think Tennessee has long felt that. He's much higher on their board, to Austin's point about and where Antonio Johnson sits and versus Mordecai McDaniel. I now think talking to some people, when you kind of look at this, we had it in the war room. When you now look at there's 15 commitments. Okay, Tennessee wants to sign a full class to get to 25. I think unless Johnson says, "Hey, I definitely want in," I think Tennessee could be done at defensive back, Austin. And I think because you look at what they need at outside linebacker, they want the 2 inside linebackers, they want another couple receivers. Suddenly you fill up those spots quite quickly.
Well, and if you're taking the road less traveled, that Tennessee's actually going to turn the corner and maybe overachieve a little bit. Trying to land some of the guys they're trying to land nationally, it becomes way more feasible than if Tennessee goes 6-6. That's probably not going to happen. But if you were to overachieve and you win 8, I think the chances of landing guys with a broader national footprint increases, and thus you really are looking at saying, okay, Noah Sewell wants in. We've already got Lenneth Whitehead and Bryson Eason. Okay, we're taking 3. What I'm saying?
But my point is that you could irregardless of the Darnell Washingtons and the Eric Gilberts and those guys, Tennessee is going to be tight based on their current. Now we all expect I'm sure a guy or two is not going to be that is currently in this class is not going to end up in this class. That's just we don't know anybody particularly right now, but that's just the way this is this far out from signing day. But when you talk about several in-state defensive linemen who have yet to commit. They all have spots. The 2 inside linebackers that you just mentioned, that's 5 more that you're eating into right there.
That's half.
Yeah, it's half.
And that don't count receivers.
And that doesn't count Rakim Jarrett or Jones Bell. And so it's just, it's how this class fills out from here, moving forward is going to be interesting. And Tennessee, I think, is going to have to make some potential sacrifices at certain spots. They're not really involved with any second running back right now. I think that's a mistake, but they have not found one. They haven't gained any traction there. They went for Tank, they didn't get him. So is that a position that they kind of have to sacrifice? Same for kind of offensive tackle. So the next few months and kind of how some dominoes fall, I think will dictate how the class ultimately looks. First signing day, December, and then obviously in February.
All right, Trayvon Ripka quickly. Tennessee's going to continue to battle there. What was the attraction to Kentucky? Just relationships?
Well, relationships. Former O-line coach Walt Wells is up there. He played college ball with Trayvon's high school coach, so there was a natural in there. He really likes the defensive line coach at Kentucky. I felt really comfortable with him. And, I think he just felt most comfortable at Kentucky. The pressure of playing here is far greater than the pressure of playing up in Lexington, just from a football standpoint. The tradition, all the expectations. Even though Kentucky's kind of been on this nice ascension under Mark Stoops.
There's not a lot of blue in Dixon. There's a lot more orange in Dixon.
Yeah. I thought, this whole time, even if he picked Kentucky, Tennessee would be right there till the end. You go watch that video, though, and he drops the Tennessee shirt. You paint yourself into a corner where, you better make sure Kentucky's the right fit for you, because if they don't have a great season, you may not have a spot to come back to here. Whereas you did, I think, 48 to 72 hours ago until you start dropping T-shirts. Now, some of that stuff can be forgiven, but it's still, to me, a kind of a right way and a wrong way to do things. You don't show up the home state school by doing that if you're wanting any kind of chance to potentially end up back here down the road.
Well, and numbers are going to be interesting, too, as we'll continue to dive into as we jump into the mailbag here. So let's get going on the mailbag. Retirement Rick Barnes says, it's been forever since Tennessee had a commitment. Obviously, he's joking because Tennessee's had two the last couple of weeks. Timetable for the next one, not mention a name. Is Tennessee done this month? You think Tennessee's done until September, October?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they're going to get any more by this time next week. I guess anything could be possible. There's a couple of guys that Tennessee's in good spots with, but it just seems like they're going to take some visits, to start the football season, and then maybe dwindle it from there.
Yeah, I think late September is probably the earliest that you're looking at. Whitehead and Hardy and those guys may come to decisions around then.
Yeah, you'll see kids make tons of visits these first few weeks. Nobody's probably been anywhere during August while they're getting ready for their season. I'd say you'll see not a flurry of commitments, but a flurry of recruiting activity. You'll see kids start to show up on campuses.
The dead period ends the first game one.
Right.
So Tennessee's going to host Whitehead for an official visit, and that's his first of four he's definitely taken in 4 consecutive weeks.
Right. So it'll get cranked back up then. So doesn't sound like anybody's got anything scheduled at this point for a particular period of time. Of course, Reggie Grimes announcing this week he's pushing his schedule back for his commitment.
What are unforeseen circumstances? I gotta dig into that and find that out.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
I'll tell you what's an unforeseen circumstance when you take me away from the turkey at Thanksgiving to have to write your commitment story.
Vic Wharton on Christmas Day, right? All right, Smokey
that
Man.
Worked out so well.
Smokey Man 15. He asked about McDaniel's relationship with Rakeem Jarrett. We've already jumped in and talked about that, but he wants to know when's Tennessee going to get on a 5-star running back? What class? When's Tennessee going to get in on a big name running back? And why have they not? I'll add to his question. What's the struggle for Tennessee to get in on a big time running back?
Well, I think when you look at it nationally, and the reason why Alabama, Georgia, and these guys, Ohio State, have kind of really cornered the market on these guys is that with the way the position is, even in the NFL now, and the way especially it is in college, they realize they don't want to be guys that burn a bunch of tire. So they want to go play with somebody else who's also really good, and you share the load, and it's kind of a twofer deal. And this kind of alludes almost to something sort of that Will Friend kind of talked about. They want to play behind the best offensive lines. So you're seeing the best running backs go play behind the best offensive lines. It comes hand in hand.
Georgia and Alabama have been knocking it out of the park. Offensive line recruiting.
Right.
If you're recruiting against Tennessee for running back, it's not hard to pull up the SEC stats from last year and say, you want to go play behind a line to average 3.7 yards a carry?
Exactly. So it's going to take an Eric Gray exploding, and we'll see if they get involved with the 2021, guy or what have you. But they certainly, struggled to gain traction with the heavy hitters this class.
With the way the game
and in the previous few.
With the way the game's changed a little bit, opening up, there's only 9,000-yard rushers in the NFL last season. It's so much more about, being able to catch the football. Yeah, I think he had 10 guys with over 60 catches in the NFL out of the running back position. Is your running back recruiting and evaluations different now than they were 5-7 years ago?
I'm sure a little bit, but even I think we talked about this.
I'm not saying that's why Tennessee's not recruiting a big name or not been able to get in on a big name back. I'm just wondering if when you're a coach evaluating high school tape, do you evaluate it differently than you did from a guy who was running the veer and hammering it 40 times a game?
Yes, I would say that's accurate for sure.
I think one thing you touched on is a big deal. I mean, I think kids are so much more educated now about the length of the career in the NFL for a running back, and they don't want to go somewhere where they're going to carry the ball 250 times a season. I mean, that's.
Well, and I mean, frankly, that's why many of these best athletes aren't even playing running back anymore, in high school and then going to college and what have you. So the few that are, they seem to be teaming up.
I mean, Tennessee's got a great high school running back that's playing outside linebacker right now.
Exactly.
Had no interest in playing running back in college and Crouch.
Yep, that's a good point. All right, let's go to Ansaval. Over under 2.5 commitments by the end of September. Anybody buying that or selling that?
I'm going to go under.
Jesse?
I'm going to go under.
All right. How many spots is Tennessee going to hold back for the February signing period?
That again, we kind of teased that conversation earlier. That I think that's going to be dictated by what happens between now and December.
Yeah.
All right.
There's only a couple guys that are going to wait till that February. The Amari Thomas he's guaranteed a spot, but is he a guy also that perhaps actually signs early, but keeps it quiet until he makes his announcement at the January All-American game?
Well, also you've got Smalls is talking about doing something in February as well, and you would hold a spot for him.
Right, but I think there are going to be several guys that may technically be considered February guys because they haven't made announcements yet.
But they're going to ink to paper in December.
Darnell Washington may be a guy like that.
So when they announce it at All-Star game, it's already done. All right.
Exactly.
Let's go to Jay Brew, Vols 916. Smalls, Sewell, Washington, Gilbert. Do the Vols get 1, 2, or more?
Small, Sewell, Washington, and Gilbert.
Yep.
I'm going to at least get one.
I'm going they get right now on August whatever this is 23rd. I'm going to say they get one.
Okay.
Perhaps my mind will change in 8 weeks or 12 weeks.
I think they 100% get one. I think it's 50% that they 100% get one. I think 50% they get two.
Wow. 100%. That's out there strong.
Well, they like to get
Cast that ballot, baby. I know, I'm Switzerland.
I learned from you,
You don't play Switzerland.
to hedge your bets to a degree, but
sometimes you got to give him a nugget,
when
right?
Niedermeyer's involved, if you think he's going over out of the 4, I just don't see it. So I think he gets at least
You're
one.
throwing some nuggets with a little Polynesian sauce on that.
Buffalo.
Is Rakeem Jarrett going to flip, or what's he going to do? Okay, what's his timetable? You said this. I think, Jesse, you've said this. I tend to agree with it. I don't think he's going to publicly decommit and declare his recruitment
He's just one day going to be committed somewhere else.
Don't you think he's just
Tennessee, Maryland, whoever.
Don't you think that's what he's going to do?
Yeah, shoot, it may be just a deal where he just shows
Signs.
up. Yeah, he's early enrolling and he shows up somewhere on January 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it feels like. All right, CD Vol, anything new with Dominic Bailey? Also, is there a team in the SEC that's getting a lot of buzz this upcoming season you're not buying into, and vice versa? Is there a team in the SEC that you think is being underrated by a lot of people? We'll get to that second one in a second. Anything new on Dominic Bailey?
No.
I mean, everything's solid there. Seems fine.
Really quiet. And I told you yesterday, actually. I think there's a couple of these guys that we need to call. That
we probably ought to catch up with them.
So we need to call Bailey and just make sure everything's status quo. But as far as I know, no one's told me otherwise.
All right. In the SEC, who are you not buying? That's getting hype.
I mean, I could look stupid when Saturday night rolls around, but I'm not convinced Florida's a rock solid top 10 team.
I would agree. They were going to be my likely pick. A&M plays a really hard schedule, so it's hard to kind of say that they're going to be overrated, even though they're 12 right now, because they have to play Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, LSU. But I think Florida definitely has more pitfalls than maybe people are giving them, as a top 10 team. I do think they're going to beat Miami. I don't think that should be a groundbreaking deal. My underrated or overrated team, I was telling Rob about this. We were talking win totals off air the other day. I think Ole Miss is a lock to go under 5. They had a bunch of dudes that went to the NFL this year, and they won 5.
Matt Luke's done at the end of the year?
I don't know, but they had a bunch of guys that went to the NFL this April, and they only won 5 games against a schedule that might actually be a little bit easier than it is this year. So they're a team I'm definitely selling short on. I kind of think Missouri's kind of continues to just be a sleeper. Everyone, even Tennessee fans seem to be writing that, like, well, that's one that we can get back. I think they can win 9 games with all the stuff that they've returned this year.
I do. I just think they're going to be to me they're going to be successful, yes, but different. Like last year, if Locke was on, and they were about near impossible to beat. Whereas I don't think Kelly Bryant's sure not the same guy. I think if he's on, they're more beatable.
I wonder if they play a different if this Missouri team's going to have more Barry Odom style, because he doesn't strike me because the defensive guy. He doesn't strike me as a guy that wants to throw it 50 times a game.
Well, they
tried early in the year last year to control the passing game a little bit, and sort of calm Drew Lock down, and they were not very good to start the year. And then all of a sudden they said, "Hey, let's open the thing up and wing it and start going there." And then they obviously had success down the stretch.
Part of the reason they've beaten the hell out of Tennessee the last couple of years is because their offensive line has been underrated. I mean, they have several guys that are all conference potential selections. So Missouri's a team that I think could be intriguing, and another team. I mean, again, Robin, another team I think that's going to have maybe there's going to be overreactions or whatever. Depends on what happens in week 1. Auburn and Gus. This is a year not a lot of people have a lot of confidence.
Is this
in
a hot seat year for Gus, or is this a safe seat year?
I think it's every year.
I think that's why he chose Nix, because it's easy to go, he's a freshman. Give him to a sophomore.
Well, I'll tell you this:
how much money would they? I mean, they still owe him a boatload.
If they beat, but my point, if they beat Oregon, everyone's gonna be like, watch out for Auburn.
Are you buying the LSU quarterback hype?
Burrow. Everybody's
on. I mean, everybody's on Burrow now. All of a sudden,
I think for an LSU quarterback, he's pretty good. I mean, if you look back,
he's
this century, I mean, I think he rates pretty high.
He does.
I think that's always been their Achilles heel. I mean, they got athletes all over the place, and they don't even have. I mean, I think he's competent, which they've not had much.
Right. I think they're an intriguing team too, because to me they're always volatile, and maybe that's just because of Ed Orgeron, but they always are like teetering. That thing could go in a million different directions. I don't think Arkansas is any good.
No, they're going to struggle to win 5
And I don't know about Mississippi State. I'm intrigued to see what they look like early.
Because they lost a ton. There's a lot of hype around this quarterback. Their schedule is not super difficult early, right? Before they play Tennessee, they could potentially roll in here with a pretty decent
maybe
record.
Only Alabama. I can't remember.
So I mean,
look it up. The reason people are still decently high on them is because even though they lost 3 first-round draft picks on defense, which is absurd, they return almost every other guy aside from those guys, and people are expecting the Chauncey Riverses and some of these JUCO transfers that they got to be impact players. I agree with you. I'm a bit skeptical, but I don't think they're going to have a massive drop-off. But again, they had all those first-round picks a year ago, and I think they only won 8 or 9 games. It's not like they won double digits.
They got good quarterback play.
Yes, but Fitz couldn't throw it.
No.
I mean, now they do have a guy now that I think probably does fit Moorhead's system better. Now the question is all the stuff coming out of the Manning Academy and this is that real? How real is that?
How good is he really? Yes, for sure. All right, let's get on to Oklaval fan here. With 15 commitments and being in a good spot with Tyler Barron and Jay Hardy, my questions are as follow. How many spots does Tennessee have? Obviously, we talked about that. They're going to go to 25 as a total spots. In a perfect world where the Vols win enough to prove they're turning the corner and can get who they want, love that, because everybody can get who they want, right? Who do they take out of the following spots? All right, who would you take? Rakeem Jarrett's got a spot, agreed?
Yes.
All right, what about Eason?
Yes.
Omari Thomas?
Yes.
Doomerville?
I probably, because they literally have no other offensive tackle options that they have their team in.
That seems like a pretty thin spot.
All right, Ty Jordan? If you're taking a second back and he wants to come.
But I think based on I'm looking at this list
You're
over your shoulder.
He's got a lot more than 10 names.
He's got a lot more than 10 names here. And that second running back, like I teased earlier, that may be a spot that gets sacrificed.
Yeah, for sure. Gilbert, yes. Washington, yes. They're not going to turn down Smalls or Sewell.
No, and again, some of this stuff is going to be played out
right.
Anyways, where I mean, like we talked about, I think on the last podcast or 2 podcasts, who I don't remember. But that there's, Gilbert and Washington are not going to end up at the same school.
Right. So it's all.
And that even though Eric wants to play wide receiver, they're just not going to end up at the same school.
So this stuff's going to all. I mean, it's a hard question because there's so much fluid into what all happens there. It changes how everything looks. All right. Dooley Pants. I know Lenneth Whitehead wants to take visits When do you think he commits? Austin, you got a timetable on Whitehead? He's going to take 5?
I think based on time, I mean, I'll let AP say whatever he knows too, but based on talking to some people, I think it's going to be the end of September, early October.
Yeah, I think it's probably, I think at least early October. I mean, maybe he does something, but, I think he's going to try to get in. To me, he's a lot like Jay Hardy from a standpoint of they're going to take some visits. Now, when they get about 2 or 3 visits in, are they going to say, okay, Tennessee's the spot or this school's the spot, and just stop?
Well, if that's the case, then that could be earlier in September, because he's got those visits penciled the first 3 weeks to Tennessee, Wisconsin, Texas, and South Carolina. I think it's those 4.
All right, let's go to Matt 4, Rocky Top. Who's the starting defensive line as of today?
Is Solomon eligible?
He didn't put that caveat on there. So let's go Solomon eligible. Who's
Solomon eligible, then it's Solomon, Emerson, and Middleton.
All right, Solomon not eligible.
Then it becomes much dicier. Because then I think you may be moving some guys around, and a guy like Savion could start. A guy like Matthew Butler may find his way back into the lineup.
I think Butler's the one you're going to watch. It's a sneaky one to be, just because of experience.
I think O-line and D-line, first couple weeks, starting lineups not going to matter. This is kind of teasing something I have for my 10 things later today, but
10 things you think?
Yeah, I think that
you think that they're going to play a lot of people in the trenches,
and that the whoever's out there first isn't going to matter.
No.
It's basically, what's going to matter? Who's out there first against Florida?
Yeah,
on both sides of the ball. Now,
and
you're playing with fire.
Who's out there in the second half against BYU?
Well, I was going to say you're playing with fire because you don't know who you're going up, and BYU could come in here and stun you if you don't know what you have up front. But I just think they're going to rotate so many guys the first couple of weeks.
All right, Galilee, do the Vols lead for Omari Thomas? How close is he to Mays, Lawrence, and Barron and that crew in terms of relationship?
He talks to Tyler Barron, he talks to Keyshawn Lawrence, and then he talks to Bryson Eason, probably more than any of them. So close, not super tight, but I mean they're not all. Ripka was more of a loner. Right. And I'm not knocking the kid. He just was kind of out on an island out in Dixon County. Didn't have those natural interactions because he didn't go to the camps and those type of things and have a longer relationship. So Big O, yeah, I mean he's not super tight, but very familiar with those guys.
What is Galilee doing asking that question? He's the president of the Volquest Memphis Mafia chapter.
He just wants a little.
I'm stunned.
Little insight. He's just double checking some of his sources would be my guess. Volken wants to know how much does Antonio Johnson's recruitment slow now that McDaniel's in the boat? You've already answered that. Let me be done at that position there.
I think he's got to raise his hand before Tennessee raises theirs.
All right. Sir Braun wants to know which freshman makes the biggest impact this season. Rob, I'll let you start.
Out of the gate, I'll go Henry. I mean, it looks like he's locked in as a starting inside linebacker. I mean, I think there's going to be a ton of guys that make an impact, but I think from day one, it looks like he's going to be a guy that's on the field.
Yeah, offensively, who would you go? Would you take Gray or would you take a freshman tackle?
I mean, I don't know. By the end of the year, it might be one of those freshman tackles, but I think in September it's going to be Eric Gray.
All right. Anybody else taking anybody other than Henry T on defense as a freshman impact?
No.
All right. On offense, you taking Gray or a freshman tackle?
I'm taking Gray. He's going to.
I'm taking Gray. I mean,
from Rob's standpoint,
production
early
standpoint,
on,
yeah,
might be a freshman tackle later in the year, but Gray out of the gate.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so everybody, Rob speaks for everyone on that one. Volken, is Garland primarily competing for snaps at nose? If so, how does his absence from fall camp, does that mean he's behind Simmons, battling for like 10 snaps a game, or do you think he's got a chance to work into some meaningful snaps by SEC play?
Garland will not be playing nose. He'll be playing the D tackle spot, and he is buried behind several guys right now. I mean, he wasn't even out at practice.
He's buried behind conditioning.
Yeah, he's got a ways to go. Now he's in body. They're not That's why Pruitt was like, we're not going to turn him away. We need more bodies there.
But he's got a long ways to go. From a conditioning standpoint. Tennessee United. If this was game week, is Batuli starting on Saturday? In other words, is he healthy enough? And what statistical category does the defense most improve on this year from last year? Same for offense.
I mean, I think that Tennessee's going to be careful with Tua even through the Georgia State game. I expect them to play, but
yeah, I think they'll be cautious.
I think they're clearly managing them. Statistically, that's an interesting question.
I think they're going to have more PBUs and interceptions. I think they'll be more effective in the secondary. I think their stat numbers in the secondary will be better. I can't say the run or I can't say sacks because I just don't know what you got on the defensive line. So I'm going to go with something in the back end. I think they're going to be more of a ball hawking, force turnovers, get their hands on more balls in the secondary. That would be one there. Offensively, I'm going to go with average yards per carry.
Low bar.
Yeah, you don't have to improve much to make an improvement.
4 point yards a carry.
So that would be my two stats. You make anything different?
Yeah, I mean, it coinciding with that, I mean, you could say that they're not going to rank, 100th in the country in tackles for loss allowed. If you think that Gray offers them a little more wiggle in the backfield.
I would agree with Brent. Yards per carry. I mean, they were just
a little simpler.
They were atrocious.
So bad. All right, Mustang Vols 731. Do you see more staff turnover after contracts expire? Some guys are obviously in the final year. So do you see changes?
Yes.
There always will be changes.
There's always going to be changes. But specifically, yes, after this year, I think there's bound to be more changes because, somebody may come after a guy like T. You got the guys that do expire. There are going to be people that come after Brian Niedermeyer. If he continues to recruit the way he's been recruiting, it's going to be a struggle to hold on to him.
Easy to pay him more right now, too.
So, yeah, I do see more changes.
All right, here's Cajun Vol. Wants to know what you guys want from Europe. Some people on this board, Cajun, would say for you to be detained. He gets back on September 1st. Are the chances that Aubrey Solomon knows his status by September 1st?
I'm going to say yes.
Yes, I'm going to agree with that. By September 1st, he's going to know something.
Yep.
I don't think there's any doubt about that one. All right, let's go to F5 Vols. The Miami-Florida game. Which one? The Miami-Florida game. Which one that could win may affect recruiting that we were chasing. So in other words, who's at a bigger? Who do you want to win that game from a recruiting standpoint for your Tennessee fans? What is that?
I don't think it really matters. I don't think one game determines whether a kid goes to the school or not. And Miami wins. Does it help them land Darnell Washington? No more so than if they lose. Does Florida winning help them land Marcus Dumerville?
Tennessee's not really rubbing up against either one of those schools either.
All right.
If you're focused on a particular school, watch how A&M does this year.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's the new Auburn. That's who they're going head-to-head against, that's for sure. I Heart Vols, list the paper 4 and 5 stars on the roster and explain what went wrong. I'm not going to go into all of that.
Oh, man,
I'm not going into all that. But here's what happened with some of those guys.
Come on, AP, whip it out. Let's go. Read through your list.
Here's what went wrong with some of those guys. One, and you heard about this from, and the reason I asked that question or brought that one in to the mailbag is you heard about Will Friend talk about this today, Rob, the significance of having the same strength coach.
And Marcus Tatum talked about it yesterday.
Marcus Tatum talked about it. When you talk, I'm not saying every 4 and 5 star that didn't pan out at Tennessee is a direct correlation to strength and conditioning because there's work ethic in there, there's misevaluations, there's a lot of things. But one of the things that is not talked about enough in terms of development is just the sheer physical development because there's a different off-season plan for 4 and 5 consecutive years.
Marcus Tatum was really upfront about it and mentioned not just Fitzgerald but the nutritionist as well. Which am I wrong? Didn't Butch leave that spot vacant for more than a minute after
it was
Allison
a little bit,
left? And Marcus was very sarcastic. If you can go back and watch his interview where he talked about it, it's and he's, he was, would say, almost derisive in the fact that looking back that they had so much turnover in the strength and conditioning program and that Butch failed to replace the nutritionist who, I think that probably affected a guy like Marcus who's trying to pack on 50 pounds more than it did some other guys on the team, but it was definitely something that was a sore spot with him.
Well, every year, there's the tongue-in-cheek comments on the board, the strength coach, everybody plays with the strength coach. But it really does matter from a continuity standpoint.
Right.
Once you get the same guy in there to say that they're getting bigger, faster, stronger, yeah. But when you literally change them out every 6 or 7 months, that's rough on those kids because everybody comes in with their different, what Rock Gullickson thought versus what Mike Sershin thought versus what,
Dave
Fitzgerald, Dave Lawson.
Fitzgerald.
I mean, if you really go back from the moment Johnny Long got fired, how many strength coaches have been in there? What is it? Isn't it like 10?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a stupid amount.
Yeah, it's
Philip's been gone 11 years. They've had like 10 strength coaches.
Close to it.
I mean,
all right, T. France here.
The original sin, baby.
Let's go some college football. This is kind of fun. We'll jump outside a little bit of Tennessee with some non-Tennessee questions. Give me a top 10. Give me a team outside the top 25 being overlooked.
I mean,
I don't know if you can say anybody right now because you just haven't seen.
you know what?
anything.
Boise State's not ranked. I'm gonna take Boise State because they're probably gonna beat Florida State.
I'll tell you, man,
They're probably gonna beat Florida State in Jacksonville in like week 2 or week 3.
I don't know what they've got, but Oklahoma State's not in the top 25, and I mean that's a guy that has won a lot of football games and plays in a conference that I wouldn't.
and if you hadn't heard, he turned down the Tennessee
I wouldn't
job 3
describe
times.
I wouldn't describe the Big 12 as a gauntlet. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's not a bad pick.
Is Michigan State ranked?
I think so, but hang on.
All right, Bama Clemson versus the field for the national championship.
I'll take Bama and Clemson.
All right. Anybody taking the field?
I mean that's a safe bet.
Right,
But I mean I think there's only 4 or 5 teams that even have a chance at winning it. Because if you do the arithmetic that basically you either have to beat one of them or beat both of them, I think the only rosters in the country that could actually do that is either Georgia and Ohio State and maybe Oklahoma, with the caveat that we have no idea how good Hurts is actually going to be in this system. But in my opinion, there's literally only 4 or 5 teams that even have, or even in the conversation.
I don't think you're beating Alabama or Clemson with Jalen Hurts playing quarterback.
All right. Every year since 2002, a team in the top 10 preseason poll has finished unranked. Who's the big fall?
I mean, it's either going to be. It's Florida, possibly Texas because of their schedule, but I'm going to say Florida.
Could be LSU. Burrow gets hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Heisman sleeper. You taking Tua, Trevor versus the field? You taking Tua, Trevor?
I am firmly in the camp that Tua's gunning for it. And Trevor probably wins it. but Tua's gunning.
I think it's those two in a landslide.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. All right, 2 more, and then we're going to get out the door here. Hamburg, or whatever his name is here. Coach Pruitt said that 8 to 10 offensive linemen would play. He was not specific about which game, but everyone's pretty sure he means the easier games. In the past, it's been mentioned how critical it is to have a starting 5 early so they can gel and play together. For some reason, Pruitt doesn't take that tack. So my question is, what's the reasoning behind mentioning 8 to 10 now instead of talking about having a cohesive 5-man offensive line unit? Is it simply not having any standouts right now? Will Friend said it's simply not having any standouts.
That's exactly what he said.
I think part of it too is like they don't want to pencil in, a certain group of guys when maybe that they think that some of these guys that might be running with the 2s could pass them up within the first month of the season. That's how I kind of do it. So it's basically to push everybody to continue to push and not go. Have a freshman who's been kind of ascending, like a guy like Darnell, I won't say go in the tank, but take a step back because all of a sudden he's not labeled a starter.
Just not having any clarity on Trey Smith's status is, I think adds to.
I think that helps them not name 5.
Totally.
Because you're not going to name 5 because you're not diving into that world right now. We'll see how they address that. On Monday, where's he going to be listed in the organizational chart? At some point, you're going to. Well, but you haven't even announced that he's cleared for contact. So
Right.
if he's an you're at least saying he's eligible.
Yeah.
Basically, he's physically eligible to play or medically eligible to play if he's listed as an or. All right. Do you see JG having over 20 touchdown passes this season?
Yes.
Jesse?
I'm hesitant, but I'll say yes.
20 touchdown passes for JG.
I'm going to go no.
I'm almost going 100% AP. Like a 5-star.
How many did he throw last year?
12.
It's a big jump. It's almost doubling it.
Yeah, that is a big jump.
He's just going to have one offensive coordinator this year.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say I already did say yes, but I just checked from through 24, his first season with Chaney.
I think everybody's thrown 20 except the quarterback at Arkansas the first year there. Was that Allen?
Yes.
Was that the Allen kid that they
Yes.
had there? But I think everybody he's had his first year, because Crompton threw like 28 or something like that. Everybody he's had since he's come back out of the NFL that he's had in his first year, I think everybody's thrown for 20 or more touchdowns with the exception of the Allen kid at Arkansas.
The irony is, too, I mean, season predictions will come out a week from today, but if AP's a little higher on the team, then, I don't know. But I'm saying if he is versus us, his number could actually be lower.
You said he's more positive than you?
Because Tennessee might not be throwing it as much, whereas if they're behind in all these games.
That factored into my
If
decision.
you're behind in all these games, you may need to keep chucking it around.
The receivers are the most experienced position on the team, and if they're not a bunch better on defense, they're going to be playing from behind the second half.
Yeah, that's true. And Jim Chaney's on the record saying we're probably going to have to lean more on our receivers on early downs than I typically like to do. Hint, hint, I'm going to throw it a lot. It's kind of what he said in his appearance to the media preseason.
Over under this would not be a bet I'd take though because of the complete uncertainty surrounding JG's ability to actually survive.
True, that's right. If he's there in every game, you're going to take over 20. I don't disagree with that. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Volquest.com podcast, a mailbag edition. We've got plenty of coverage coming up for you as game week is here. We'll have stuff throughout the day today and over the weekend. Rob's got the encyclopedia coming up here on Saturday and Sunday. Jesse's got the 10 things he thinks he knows. And then we're into the 3-2-1 on Monday, and Jeremy Pruitt meets the media at noon on Monday. He'll actually meet the media later tonight as well. But for Jesse Simonton, Rob Lewis, and Austin Price, I'm Brent Hubbs. Have a great weekend, everybody.